Hello there, welcome to Critic Reviews. Today I'm taking a look at The Crow, starring Bill Skarsgård. Now, did anybody really think that this was going to be good? After all, The Crow is one of the all-time greats, and in fact the first review I ever did on this channel. It's the first letter of my logo, and will remain so until I've reviewed all the films that make it up, which is a way off, I assure you. In fact, after watching this disaster of reimagining, I'm not sure I was effusive enough in my praise for the original. I think I'm going to do a video comparing the two, just so I can extol the virtues of the 1994 Alex Proyas version all that much more. Do it true justice. Anyway, before I get stuck into this abomination, here is your spoiler-free plot summary. Junkie with a tragic background Eric meets junkie with a tragic background Shelley Webster in rehab. They escape, fall in love in the space of about 2 weeks, and are then murdered by shadowy figures from Shelley's past. Eric is brought back to avenge Shelley's death. Eric then goes around killing lots of people in very violent, graphic and bloody ways, working his way to the top on a path of vengeance. I knew 2 minutes into this movie that it was going to be bad. I don't really consider anything from trailers or that happens in the first 5 minutes or so of a film a spoiler, so I will briefly detail the opening. A young Eric, we never get a second name for him, is trying to rescue a horse that's tangled in barbed wire, while his mother, presumably, lies in a drug-addled state in the world's most cliché white trash trailer. Eric cuts his hands open on the barbed wire in his struggles, while flocks of crows circle overhead. Now, the horse and barbed wire is at least from a panel in the graphic novel. Sadly, any similarity between the two ends here. This has been done purely so that Eric can cut his hands on the wire, later allowing for barbed wire scars on his hands and even barbed wire tattoos on his back. Oh wow, much profound, most deep. So yeah, I knew we were in trouble at the off. Once FK Twigs turns up, we devote the next half hour to 40 minutes of the film to exploring their soul-binding relationship, which consists of trashing a mate's apartment in a drug-fueled sex session and a trip out to the park with some friends. They learn nothing. They have no development. They go right back to the drugs and wanton behaviour. Are these our heroes? Are these the star-crossed lovers that we're meant to root for? They're together for perhaps a fortnight, and have little in the way of real chemistry, although there is one scene where FKA demonstrates that even if she can't act, she can at least sing, and it approaches something resembling a heartfelt moment. FKA Twigs is aptly named, as she is a complete plank of wood in this film. Her most convincing scenes were as a corpse. Skarsgård, on the other hand, can act, but honestly, in this he's got nothing to work with and comes off as decidedly average. No one excels in this film at all, no one is memorable, and the villain is a nothing compared to Michael Wincott's top dollar. He's a complete non-entity with a ridiculous trait that actually derails a great deal of the film if you think about it for more than 2 minutes, which the writers clearly didn't. Another massive problem with this film is the characters, because there aren't any. Other than Eric, definitely not Draven, the entire roster is an array of nobodies that are dispatched with abandon. Shelley's mother is probably the only one with any real screen time. There is a bent copper that I don't actually remember the name of, and other than that, just a parade of nameless personality vacuums. The original had Tintin, Funboy, T-Bird, and Skank. Actual personalities. They did things, they had quirks, and each had a little bit of development. They were also killed with their own weapon in an excellent moment of poetic justice. Tintin was stabbed.
Victims, aren't we all?
Funboy killed with his own heroin that he'd been pushing on Sarah's mother Darla. T-Bird was blown up with his own explosives. In this new version, everyone's just gunned down or chopped up with a sword. It's also unimaginative and blasé. There's no Officer Albrecht.
Some kind of a ghost? Boo.
No Sarah.
I remembered your song. You said, can't rain all the time. That is from your song, right?
Eric saves nobody. He helps nobody. He has no impact upon anyone's life except presumably making lots of children fatherless. Eric Draven was a hero. He helped people even knowing that it would get him hurt. He was selfless, noble, loyal. We didn't need a tragic backstory for him. He proved his character through his actions again and again.
Mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children. Morphine is bad for you.
His love for Shelley was shown. They were engaged to be married. We knew practically nothing about her. We didn't need to. Sarah provided the human element of the story. Her presence is greatly missed in this. There's just nothing here. None of the feel of the original graphic novel, nor the original film based on it. Though The Crow wields a somewhat pompous sense of profundity and grandeur as a shield, it is as mindless and straightforward as they come. It's as shallow as the puddle that Eric is repeatedly shoved into. You don't care if any of these people are saved, because we don't know them. With no characters, you have no story. Just generic revenge and savagery, especially in a scene where Eric dispatches an exclusively white and male security detail in a gratuitous display of absolutely brutal graphic violence. Any diverse wrongdoers are dispatched with a bullet or off screen. There are some things that you just can't show on screen these days. Graphic butchery of white men, that's just fine. Don't even get me started on the ending to the film, which makes absolutely no sense and makes the final act of Alien Romulus look like a bloody masterpiece in comparison. So, is there anything laudable about this film then? Well, I guess it is kind of admirable that they did decide to do something completely different. Although there are a few shots here and there that are reminiscent of the original, this is far from the slavish fan service and key jangling that blighted Alien Romulus. Let's be clear, it's not the differences to the original plot that bother me. It's the complete lack of the themes, heart, soul and charm. So, for being its own thing at least, I will give it some credit. Likewise, the commitment to violence and the R rating is also admirable. It's extremely graphic, although a little bit CG in places, and although I don't think it really adds anything to the film, it is at least noticeable, and it makes the film stand out a little bit. Hey, I'm reaching for positives here. The soundtrack is also okay. The score is a long way from Graham Revell's evocative haunting motifs, but the actual songs in the film do have that goth rock edge, although hardly any of the impact of the original classic soundtrack. It's just a shame that the film doesn't. There are a few moments, a few half-hearted attempts to capture the original's aesthetic, a dressing of the iconic look of the 1994 masterpiece, but it's nothing more than a veneer, a coat of face paint if you will, and underneath there is nothing but ugliness. Romance. That's the word. This film has no romance. The book has romance. The 1994 film is dripping with gothic romance. This has none of that. Not for 1 second. Final thoughts. The Crow, starring Bill Skarsgård, is a shallow, brutally violent, bold take on the source material. Sadly, it has nothing within. It is empty, and the graphic yet sporadic violence becomes numbing and, dare I say, boring, especially in a John Wick-esque final sequence that has all the blood but no emotional impact. The film is bereft of the warmth, soul and charm, and the romance of the original. It has no characters, and therefore no character. And while lip service is paid, it really has no business being called The Crow at all, having hardly anything to do with J.O. Barr's original groundbreaking graphic novel. The plot, such as it is rather nonsensical and actually brings up more problems the more you think about it. The film has no core, it has nothing to support it, no values, no heart, it's even got a MacGuffin. As a generic revenge thriller, it could perhaps be considered mediocre if flawed. As The Crow, it is nothing short of an insult. Thanks for watching, I've been Critic, and I'll be back with another movie review soon.